Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 199, the penultimate episode. Next week we have our 200th episode. We meet here every Thursday to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+. Also on our Facebook page at Dumb SEO Questions, and also on Twitter at Dumb SEO QS. With us tonight we have David Roseanne. David has been an SEO since Moses was a boy. He's based in the sunny south of England. You can find David at writingforseo.org. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net, a translator of many languages, and he's also a Google Top contributor on the AdSense community. Rob Mars is an AdWords aficionado based in the Netherlands. I forgot to say that Masataki is based in the UK. He lives in Wimbledon, in London. Rob, as I said, is an AdWords aficionado. He is based in the Netherlands and runs a website in the Netherlands, marketbiz.nl, MARKETBIZZ. And Rob is a Google Top contributor on the, I've forgotten. It is AdWords in the English language. No? You'll have to tell me, Rob. You're muted, mate. Anyway. Dutch AdWords and webmaster in English. Thank you. And Tim Capper is CEO of onlineownership.com in the UK, the frozen wastelands north of London. And he is also a Google Top contributor on the Google My Business community. He's proud to call himself an SEO. He's also a conversion rate optimization specialist. Boy, oh boy. Okay, let's get cracking. Our first question tonight is from Chase Rayner. It's titled, "Should you put your brand name at the end of every title tag?" He said, "I see some websites do this and I'm not sure if it's beneficial or not."
So, right, so when you say what's beneficial, well, if you're talking about the business's branding, well, that is one of the main parts of, of branding for a business. Their images, their product, that always should be branded. Because obviously you have image search, you have image appearing in search results, you have images being shared. This should be part of your branding. Now, will it help something rank? That's here or there, neither here nor there when you say beneficial. If your brand is important to you, then you should be branding your images.
Thank you, Tim. Can I get another comment? I see one of our forum heroes, Dave Elliott, also answered. He said he always does it. Go ahead, David Rozan.
Ah, yes, that's me. Yeah, I do too. It's yes, it's as much for branding as any other reason. So I kind of agree with Dave, and I agree with Tim. I don't see any real reason not to, unless you're really trying to put some fantastically complex title tag together with lots of words in, but that suggests that you've probably got a page that's not as focused as it should be. So yeah, I'm all for it.
And you don't have to watch out for the X number limitation of characters if you put it behind it.
Run that past me again, please, Rob.
Well, people tend to be afraid to go over 70 characters per title, and they shouldn't. They just should look at the SERPs and see how it's shown, because Google will put your brand name in there anyway if it's too long or not fitting enough.
Okay. So regardless, if I get it right, what you're saying is if you make your title tag too long, that wouldn't normally fit, Google will manipulate it to print your brand name within the search results. I'm going to record that as a yes. All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Diego Santos Sicado on merging domains. Diego said, hi, I have two different websites about the same topic that receive a relatively high amount of organic traffic. They have loads of links and even 301 redirects between themselves. Would it make sense to migrate all of the pages to the same domain and stop using the other altogether? Would that improve rankings for the chosen domain? Thanks for your help. It's an interesting question.
Let me try and pick this apart a bit. If he moves a substantial amount of content from one domain to another, the plus point will be assuming that the content is all good stuff, that domain will benefit from having more good quality content. The downside will be that you'll probably end up with more 301s in place, so you'll lose some of the linking goodness that was to the original or to the abandoned domain, shall we say. So I suspect that that it's probably a good thing, but it's not going to be something that you'll necessarily see a big bang of traffic coming in as soon as you do it. So I wonder how much work there is to do here. It's probably worth doing, but with the proviso that there may be some reasons with the specific sites that it may not be a good reason. But I would say that if the content's good and they are really focusing on the same audience, the same customers, same readers, and have really the same topic, the content would be better in one place rather than spread over two.
Yeah, if I add, one of our esteemed panelists, who is no longer with us because he's now director of SEO for Expedia, for the Expedia in the ANZ region. But Alistair Lattimore, his methodology is to begin with a site audit and combine where possible what he calls craft, which is he begins with a technical SEO audit anyway, and if Alistair Lattimore was looking at your site, Diego, he would be certainly doing what you're proposing to do. Any other comments? One thing, when you're combining the pages, it would be good to make sure that you are bringing the pages in, all of the text content on the page, bring it in and try to keep it like for like. All right, if there's no other offerings there, I'll move on to the next. Okay. This one from Edisham Sheikh. He said, does the fan page URL matter in SEO? Edisham said, again, a dumb question. He said, started a new website and I want to create social pages / profiles. So what should I keep the URL for my Facebook page and Twitter handle? Simply go ahead with the website name, websitenameplus.com, website name and keyword. Thanks. I see we have 3 viewers watching us. Thank you, guys and girls. We appreciate your interest. Your interest in what we're doing makes it all worthwhile. We appreciate it. Thank you. Can I get a response for Edisham Sheikh?
May I express my total confusion over the question?
Yeah, I'm struggling with it too. Let's ask William Rock. William Rock's just joined us. He's an SEO from Kansas in the good old USA. Also a Google top contributor on the search community.
Right. So this kind of goes back to brand. Right. So you're trying to build a brand. Every business out there, the ultimate goal is to build a brand, right? Now, if you've built a brand called Fluffy Elephant, okay, and your website is fluffyelephant.com, right? And people know you and are beginning to build your brand, and people will just search Fluffy Elephant, okay? Now, if you're building that brand, which includes your social profiles, there's no point in going to have a social profile called Fluffy Elephant plus fluffyelephant.com as your URL, or fluffy elephant plus pink fluffy elephants as the keyword.com, you're building a brand. Don't overthink this stuff. Your social profiles should, and obviously because sometimes you don't exactly get the social profile that you explicitly want, but near enough match your social profiles to your brand. Okay? That is the crux of it. Building a brand. Forget about any trickery or whatever, because social is not, you're building a brand, be consistent with your brand.
Good one, Tim.
Yeah.
Can I have another comment, please?
Well, being consistent is also being consistent with your logos, your identity, the way that you work with your people as well. But one of the things that stands out to me in this question is plus keywords, and I don't want to emphasize the keywords in the URL. You still can have them, but at the same time it's going to be back to the engagement, content, and who you are as a company.
Yep. Anybody wants to jump in before I move to the next? Okay, our next is from Jamin Rak, who's asked a good number of questions of us, and we thank Jamin for his interest. This question titled Organic Search Engine Results Pages, Pulling Up the Company's Reviews. Jamin said, I've been noticing some organic search engine results pages pulling up the company's reviews from review sites other than Google. For example, they are using a third-party review-generated company and are somehow getting those to show up in organic search results. How?
Well, it's quite simple, mate. All you're doing is using aggregated structured data on your actual website. The point here is that has to be displayed on your site somewhere. So I can't see what the name of that page is. Wetherington Chiropractic Clinic. So on that site, they will have aggregated structured data or schema markup on there, displaying that they have 5 stars out of 5 stars out of 152 votes. They could also be pulling that in via an API off whichever page that was collecting those votes. So those reviews could have been on, the Google business page, they could have been on Yelp, they could have been on the chiropractic review Yelp. Do you know what I mean? They could be on anywhere which collects those reviews for that particular business. You can either obviously aggregate. You can either add that just on the base level. They could have at the bottom of their page saying reviews collected via the Chiropractic Association. Gives our business 5 out of 5 out of 157 reviews. They could have actually pulled it via API just to appear at the bottom of their page, or maybe they've got a little review box, or however they've wanted to display it, and then they've used aggregated structured schema or structured data to signify to Googlebot that these reviews, we would like to display, this is the aggregated rating for it. Simple as. There's no trick to it. The only kind of thing that I would say where Google kind of cracks down on using your review structured data or structured schema markup, or whichever you want to call it, is it has to pertain to the actual pages. So if, for example, they're putting it via API, or let's just say they've added it in plain HTML in their footer or wherever, you shouldn't have that appearing, for example, on if they've got a blog. So that blog, you know, because it's on one site and they've just added it to the footer or whatever, it's across everything. 9 times out of 10, initially Google, if the ratings are trusted, initially Google will be displaying them on their blog pages and article pages and that contact us page and, you know, the about page. But ultimately, if it stays there, then Googlebot can choose not to display it on those pages, or take the even bigger decision not to display them across the entire site, because you've misrepresented some of those, you know, that data on some of those pages. So the reviews have to be pertaining to the particular page that you're listing them on. So things like your contact us page, your about page, I don't know, your terms of service page, your blog article pages, your news updates, things like that. Those aren't where you should, in terms of Google's guidelines, you shouldn't be including it on those. It should only be on your top level business pages as such. Yeah, so it's quite easy, Jarman. That's generally how you're doing it. They're doing it. You could be standard text, could be API, but the whole main thing that signals it all to Google is your aggregated schema markup or structured data markup.
Cool, Tim. Anybody else?
I think you nailed that one, Tim.
I do occasionally, mate. I do occasionally, you know. Now and again I get lucky.
David Rozam is nodding his assent. Okay, let's...
Into heaven.
Tim thinks I get tricky if I use words of more than 5 characters. All right, let's go to the next. This one's a question from Mike Cook, and he wants to know the best keyword ranking tracker program. And of course, I should add that SEMrush, who I'm sure will come up in this conversation, provides for our Dumb SEO Questions panelists a copy of a Guru account, which means that they forego around about, what is it, about 150 a month, so about 1,200 a month, because I wouldn't be without it. If they gave me the sack and said, you've got to pay for it, I would. Anyway, Mike Cook said, an open question, what is the best keyword ranking tracker program and getting value for money? I'm getting a bit sick of the company I use who keep putting their prices up. Dave Elliott in the chat said he thinks the best is Link Desk. It shows on the screen currently as Lindesk, but if you see another 2 comments below, it's actually linkdex.com.
Yeah, I mean, Dave also says not good value. Yeah, I mean, wow, they are expensive. I mean, I have only 10 clients at any one time, and I would literally I would probably have to charge them double just to afford LinkedIn. I mean, it's an expensive. Yeah, it's expensive. So for me, and 10 clients, just there's no way, Jose, I would justify that. for me. We already know SEMrush. There's a new one coming out at the minute, which seems to be pretty good. I've just played around with the 30-day trial at the minute, which is SERP-Stat. Their database. It's like anything. These things all rely on a database and how they are building their database. So, for example, SEMrush has got, they've got a massive one. For example, SERP-Stat, the one I'm playing around with at the minute, they're pretty new on the market. I think they've been around about a year. So their sort of database is like a fraction of what SEMrush would be or LinkDex, but it's exponentially increasing all the time. That's very good value for money. Hey, the thing is, most of them have 30-day trials. Try them out, 30 days, see what it's looking like. Yeah, definitely, try them out and see what it is.
Thank you, Tim.
Definitely check out the 30-day trials, like Tim was saying. I think that's it's key. It's finding the tool that's going to work best for you. For me, SEMrush does the trick for me. I mean, I've gotten other things like Anton sent me a trial for SERP stats, which is also, I think you mentioned that one, Tim. Playing with a beta with that one, or a trial on that one. But it's a great tool as well. I mean, it has a little bit of work to get done. But at the same time, I still always go back to Search Console. That's going to give me my average positions pretty accurately, and then I can match that up with my analytics, and I can go back to seeing where that keyword's bringing me business versus just showing up as a rank. Some of those tools.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The funny thing is, you mentioned Search Console. Well, the funniest thing is so many people, like you mentioned, completely forget about it. In fact, half the time when you're looking at your Search Console, and it throws up, obviously I'm saying depends on your site. If your site fluctuates and your site has so many X amount of products, or different categories or whatever, or genres involved in it, I mean, it's constantly throwing up different phrases that your site is appearing for somewhere. And as long as you filter the countries out, you can see obviously where these are appearing. But I tell you what, the funniest thing is people go, oh, keyword exploration and all this. I mean, but if you've got content on your site, Search Console will give you like an inordinate amount of weird and wonderful kind of phrases that you appear for. Of course, you need to go and research about what other people would be searching, because it may not be appearing in Search Console. Fair enough, and that's called exploration. But Search Console is obviously, it doesn't accurately physically track these things. It's an average, and you can narrow it down. But I mean, in terms of keywords, pretty much anything you can think of is there. It's in your Search Console.
Absolutely, and then you can also filter by page. So if you're having a problem with a page that may have actually gotten hit by a penguin or a panda issue, I mean, you can take a look at it, or a change for your technical. I mean, if you were to change that page a little bit, and all of a sudden, all your queries disappeared for that section, that page, you can see that in Search Console pretty quickly. And you can also see when you log into your dashboard, if you've got that fluctuation in your clicks that drop. So you can see that little spike downwards or upwards, depending on the thing. But yeah, you still have to go back and do your keyword research and figure out what you're working with. But focused on one particular keyword anymore these days is such a hard thing. There's so many different variations of that one search query that can mean so many different variations. And Google's going to try that. And that's where they have the average position and how many impressions and how many clicks come in. So I think that's one of my favorite tools to start out with, and then going back into your analytics and seeing, did they go through that page, and then did they stay on the site for a little bit longer? Did they read your content, or did they just leave it and go back to the search engine and repeat that search again and find their answer elsewhere?
Okay, anybody else? No more? Okay. Let's tweet this. Our next question is another one from Chase Rayner. It's titled "Duplicate Content May Provide Value." I have to get Daniel to keep an eye on our titles. Anyway, Chase said, if this, and he said, see picture where the graphic you can see on the screen can also be seen on the SEO Questions community on Google+. He said, if this is in the footer of a website that has over 5,000 pages, would Google consider it duplicate content and penalize pages or supplementary content and not care, or supplementary content and not care, or even maybe provide value? Any comments on this, please?
Googlebot, in one sense, is fairly sophisticated, and its latest news, or your spotlight, or your social latest tweets or whatever in the footer of the site that is across all pages, is just that. It's across all pages. They're pretty sophisticated, and no, that's not going to be treated as duplicated content.
And I think John Mueller actually spoke about this in one of his recent hangouts about duplicate content, and more of a filter. They're able to pick up that and realize that that's not something that's trying to trick the engine. It's just something that's a piece of content like the news section. So a lot of people have that same body of content about their mission statement across 5,000 pages. So I think Google definitely, like Tim said, is smart enough to figure that out. There's not really a duplicate content penalty. It's a filter, from what I see. It's going to either like it or not like it. It's going to go across the board and look for everything else related of that duplication. So, but as an internal site thing, I probably wouldn't waste my time on it. So, focus on more of the user experience, I would think.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say if it's useful to the users, go ahead and do it. If it's not, don't bother, because it won't provide any additional value. I remember on our 100th episode, given that next week is our 200th, and Dwayne Forrest was at our 100th and will be again at our 200th, he said Bing knows the links which are being clicked on a page and those which are not, and just Bing completely ignores footer links. So, yeah, I think the question of whether it provides value, it doesn't provide value, other than it does enhance the user experience. And David Roseanne was just about to say something, and I interrupted him, I think, or was I wrong?
Yeah, I think that even if Google wasn't sophisticated enough to realise it was the same on every page, and this is how a lot of websites are designed, if you think about what you put on the page, you would have to have a pretty thin set of content on your pages for them to be seen as duplicate across the whole site. So you know, you would be, you know, you would have you would have to have a pretty crap site to get into a duplicate content problem, even if Google didn't actually understand what was happening. So we're back to having good content, and lots of it giving value to those who come to the site. And if you're putting little tiny bits of this and that up, well, you won't rank for one reason or another. So just get down and put some decent content in on your pages.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next. Another one from Chase Rayner. I tell you, we're popular tonight. Chase has noticed a drop in data provided by the Search Console and asks, have you guys noticed a drop in data provided by the Search Console? He said our client has had a dip in their clicks to the website via Search Console, but if you look at their organic traffic, they are still doing fine.
Yeah, but Search Console is not analytics. It's obviously based upon particular search phrases, impressions, and the actual clicks to those particular pages itself. What you can do is do a comparison in your actual analytics where you've connected your Search Console, and there's a Search Console section within your analytics, and there you can do a comparison in the two between your organic, where you can look at your actual pages, and you can also look at your Search Console in analytics. But you must remember that Search Console isn't actually analytics, and it's not going to report your actual, you know, all your organic traffic.
Yeah, and the other thing would be, when they're saying organic traffic, I would probably go to filter out the Bing data, anything else from other search engines, and make sure that you're accurately, like Tim mentioned, going to the impressions and clicks in your query report from inside your analytics report. That's going to come straight from Google, but then you have all your other query data coming from Bing and other areas. So making sure you're comparing apples to apples would be important. I haven't seen a dip though in data, and in fact I've seen even more data coming through with some of the updates they've been making for Search Console.
Yeah, the other thing that I'd like to add is that the data in the Google Search Console is only a representative sample. It's never meant to be all of your traffic, and so you really pay no attention to it. Like, for argument's sake, counting the number of clicks. Forget about it, because it doesn't even pretend to be anything. If you want to look at it, look at your analytics, but really get a copy of a log analyzer, any log analyzer, and work from your actual server log files. Then you'll know what's really happening. I see Rob Mars explained it in an elegant way. He said the Google Search Console measures traffic going out of the search engine results pages, and analytics sees incoming traffic. Yeah, so you can't compare apples with oranges. All right, let me tweet that and we'll move on to the next. Got to check how many we have tonight. Must be getting close. Anyway, Mark Gilby said or asked a question titled "Company Name in the Title Tag." He said, one, in this day of blogs and CMS, typically a CMS will repeat the name of the company in the title tag for every page. Is that necessary if the name exists anywhere else on the website? Two, please give or point me to some best practices for companies who are trying to come up in other parts of the world. Say a software solutions company trying to sell it in Europe and the UK, etc. Not sure if Mark is in the US or where he is. And three, meta descriptions. The character limit is 150. But if you type more than that, does it provide more search benefit even though the user won't see all of the extra characters in a search engine results page? Thanks for fighting the good fight. Well, that's very nice of you, Mark, and we appreciate it.
Right. So, Mark. Okay. So, Google will, if you've on your title, on your on your homepage title tag, meta title, if you say pink fluffy elephants, Google will automatically add in the, if they can detect your website name or your brand name. So they will automatically add that in for you into the search results at the very beginning of the meta title tag. So if it's mama elephant, it will add in mama elephant hyphen pink fluffy elephant data. Okay, so you might as well add that in rather than Googlebot having to guess it and putting it in. Secondly, on internal pages, Googlebot will do the same, and they will add it to the end of your meta title. So you might as well add that in and incorporate that within your characters, or at least, obviously some blog titles are exceptionally long, and you don't want to have to try and character limit those. But on internal pages, it makes sense. One, it's about building a brand. People will recognize your brand when they're searching for a particular product within the search results, and if it's at the end or it's at the beginning, so you might as well add it in because it helps you, especially for internal pages, just trying to keep within the character limit for best readability for users. Okay, if you do go over it, you go over it, but the point is it's for branding and it's for readability for your users. So you might as well put it in so that you can work within your description. Same again, your description. Well, no, if you've got a couple of extra lines in there, it's not going to be displayed. It generally, it's not going to give you like some position benefit just because you added an extra couple of lines that included a specific phrase or not. You'll also know that if you're that Googlebot will even change up your meta description to suit the search query. If they feel that your page should appear for a particular search query, but your meta description isn't kind of great for that search query, they will also change your meta description to suit that search query. So same again, don't overthink this because Googlebot, will, change it. So the point there is keep it concise for the actual reader and the user in search. Try and accurately describe within the character limit, if possible, what a user is going to find on that page, on that site. By adding in an extra couple of lines or characters, it's neither here nor there, and it's not going to be essentially a ranking benefit as such. Right, then for, I can't remember what the last one was. I think that was languages, targeting different parts of the world. Essentially, the way you want to do this is you want to have language pages of the site for those particular countries you want to target. Those particular language pages should then be marked up with hreflang, which denotes to Google where to display, or what country or what language to display that particular pages to. So, for example, if you were in the US and that was your default kind of language, you would say that these pages, you know, all these top line pages or whatever is in English, US, and that would maybe be your default X if you're US based, for example, if you're UK, whatever. And then let's say you were targeting the Middle East and you were using Arabic, then all your site's pages would be those particular pages. I'm not saying you have to do every single one because some services may not be available in that country. So every page that you want to be displayed or that you can offer in that country should be individually translated. Ideally, you would serve that on a new URL, which would be URL/AR denoting Arabic, and then the rest of the URL. And then you would mark that up in your hreflang, saying obviously your US would be EN US default X because that's your English default page. And then it would also have the particular URL that is the exact match page in Arabic, and you would be marking that up and denoting that this is Arabic, and you could even go so far as denoting which particular Arabic country that was for. So AR UAE, you know, hyphen UAE, that would be your hreflang for that. Then let's say, for example, you had the same page in Chinese. Same again, it would follow the same format, but it would be on a Chinese URL, ch/URL, and in your hreflang, the next line you would denote is you would say that this is your English page, this is your Arabic page, and this is your Chinese page URL. What essentially then would happen is Googlebot understands that this page is obviously for my English users, this page is for to be served for Arabic readers in the UAE, and this one is to be served to Chinese readers, you know, or Mandarin or whatever. What essentially happens then is in those particular countries, when someone searches for something in their particular language, it then displays your site like you normally see it. You know, you've got, you know, well, obviously depending on how the site's structured, but you would have, you know, you would have your top line, you know, category there, and then it could give you a couple of extra site links, or it would appear as normal, but it would be obviously in that particular language. So it serves people in their language in those countries for those particular sets of variables. You're basically telling Google, this is this language, this is this language, this is this language. So that's how you would deal with that.
Thank you, Tim.
I think I would add one piece to that. Great job, Tim. You know, as far as the title tag, and I use it as basically, if I'm going to pay for advertising, say for example AdWords, you know, you only have a certain amount of characters anyways, and you're trying to get the person to click. It's not really, I think it's more a user experience than over ranking. You know, you're trying to send that quick message, right, and then get them to engage. But like going back to what Tim was saying, making sure that you know, when they click, they're getting the right information. When they're reading the information in the title and description, it's accurate to what that page is about. You know, and also that, you know, if it's not, then Google will reroute it too. So.
Yeah. So, summing up Tim's excellent answer, primarily Google ranks sites firstly on links and then on the text content of a page. What you have in the head content of your page, like the, whoops, sorry about that, just dropped my microphone. The head content, the title tag, the meta description tag, the meta keywords tag, so on. All of those things. I mean, Google is agnostic to code, even if your page doesn't include those things. Google will not deal with your site badly. If your coding is bad, Google won't care. You know, in answer to your question, you know, as Tim said, adding an extra couple of lines to your meta description tag won't give you any ranking benefit. It's an opportunity to fill in your meta description tag in the hope that Google might display it because it puts your site forward in the best light. But generally, Google will rewrite it anyway. Any others? All right. Let's tweet that and move on to the next before I totally lose my voice. This one is from Malakajuna S, who asked a question of us last week, and he wants to know how to get quick indexing of his website. Malakajuna S said, hi, how to increase indexing pages in search engines and how to get a quick indexing of a website. I know we need to submit a sitemap to the search engines and pages, we need to fetch each page. Now my question is that I submitted an XML sitemap to the search engines and also fetched as Googlebot in the Google Search Console more than 10 days back. But my website is until now still not indexed in Google. For this, what can I do? Can anyone suggest to me? Thank you. Well, first off, Malakajuna, I hope you're using the site operator, SITE full colon, and the name of your domain name, your website URL, and that will tell you once Google has indexed it. It may well be in the index, but 30 pages down, and you haven't noticed it yet. But use the site operator to check when you are indexed. By the way, in the Google Search Console, you don't need to fetch every page. You only need to fetch the top page and ask Google to follow the links from it.
You can't.
Go ahead, Tim.
You can't. You can only fetch and render 10 pages per month. Or is it per week? Oh, I don't know. 10.
I think it's per week.
So, yeah, 10 a week or 10 a month, something like that. So, you know, that a math.
It's 10 complete searches. Hello?
So if you had...
We hear you, Rob. Go.
Okay. So you can do almost as many pages as you want, but you can only do the root page and ask to spider the whole site 10 times a month, 30 days.
Which, to be honest with you, I only put it in once and then let the bot do its thing because it's going to find it anyways. Once you've submitted your sitemap and everything else and the bot starts to crawl, it's going to continue to consume that information.
The other thing is,
your navigation is logic enough, you even don't need to submit the sitemap. It's not necessary as such. Google will spider anyway.
Yeah, but he said, I see if he submits a sitemap, well, it'll tell you how many of those pages have been indexed. So
yeah, but only up to a limit, because a lot of people have slightly different URLs in their sitemap than the ones that are indexed.
okay, let's just assume he has a site that only has 1,000. Let's just assume he only has 1,000 pages. Okay. Check your sitemap or do a site query. But the point is that should show to you what's being indexed. Also, the other flip side of it is also look at your crawl. Your crawling, because Googlebot will actually only crawl your site based upon what they feel your site can handle. If you've got, for example's sake, a mega monolithic site, 10,000 pages and products, you're on shared hosting with another couple of e-commerce sites, that takes 25 minutes to load a page, Googlebot may only crawl 1 page a year, for example's sake. So that could be another reason. You may have submitted your sitemap, you may have done some fetch and renders, okay, and submitted those, but because your site can't actually handle, let's say it's a new site and you've got 1,000 pages, because Googlebot doesn't feel that you can actually, your site can handle this without them crashing your site, they're only going to crawl what they believe your site can handle, right? So have a look at your crawl. If it's sitting down, have a look at that. That may be an issue also.
Yeah, the other thing to add to that would be to check the pages. Look at the the speed test. Look at how long it's taking for that page to actually load and render, for the browser every time. Each page might be a little bit different. You might not be optimizing graphics, for example. Those graphics might be shrunk down into a little tiny piece, like 200 by 200, but in realistic size, when you right-click and open the image, that's like 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, and the size of that image is 3 megs. Well, but for a mobile device, that's going to cause a lot of problems. But there's little things you can do for forensics and try to figure out, okay, if those pages aren't being crawled, maybe why? Ask the question, why are these pages not being crawled? And look at the page independently.
Yep. Anybody else?
Yeah, in the question suggested that he should submit to the search engines, which doesn't help at all. Search engine submission is 1998, 1999.
Yeah, but those programs still exist, and people still spend the $100 a year to submit it to the search engines. So it's good money for them. But yeah, you're right. I don't think that stuff works. 1998 it did.
I see Dave Elliott also said sharing the home page on Google Plus often helps, as Google spiders Google Plus regularly.
Don't know if that, putting it up on social is going to make that big of a difference. I mean, we've got multiple people saying different things.
Well, actually, if I've published an article and I've popped it onto Google Plus, and there's a few shares and mentions, sometimes the actual Google Plus post is indexed a day before and is showing the search results for that particular search query before the actual article is.
particularly if it's shared by me.
Has to go through Jim first, and then.
Yeah. So Jim Monroe is the gatekeeper to Google Plus.
For 10 payments of $19.99, I'll give you.
Yes, yes. Look, and I hope you're all going to join up to my course. I'm starting a course soon. I'm going to promote the secrets behind Google authorship. It's got possibilities, doesn't it?
It sounds very, very practical. The Guide to Surviving Penguin, too, is where I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, I just saw a poll on, I think it was Search Engine Land, on when do you think it'll run again? I voted I don't think it'll run again, and I was accompanied by 1/3 of the respondents. 2/3 thought that it will run again, and 1/3 didn't. Anyway, I think it's dead. Tim's going to bury its carcass for me up at Mountain View. No, actually, you won't have time now, will you, Tim? You'll be that busy. That's probably why they changed your itinerary, so that you're arriving right on the minute and jetting out 5 minutes after. It's so you can't bury the penguin. They've been watching us.
No, mate. I tell you what, we will make sure. We'll make sure. Even if William and I have to sneak out at like 2 in the morning after being on the lash, we'll make sure it's buried somewhere.
Okay. And you'll be a part of this, William Rock?
No, not at all.
He's already got it.
I've already got the eyes, so it's perfect, see him?
Yeah, we're gonna bury that fucker everywhere.
He's already on social with the robot standing around him, of course.
We'll get to your Street View.
Now, look, I just had to point out that the phone's been running hot since I made that announcement. People wanting to sign up for the Google authorship seminar. It was a joke.
Just take.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next. Did I tweet that or not? I don't know. Yep, I did. Okay, and the next is from Ankit Patel, and his homepage has not been indexed, and he's been waiting since the 9th of June. Did God cough then, or did somebody die? Okay. All right. Ankit said that my website is working perfectly, that there are no issues, but only for 2 blog posts. Have we done this question last week? Anyway, only for 2 blog posts, and the website homepage is not indexed from, say, June, say after a month. The sitemap was index was submitted Feb 13, 2016, and processed June 9, 2016. I had submitted the sitemap many times. There are 30 pages in the sitemap, but the Search Console sitemap only shows submitted 8 pages, indexed 8 pages. Well, I physically check. There's only 30 to check. I'd check the XML sitemap. Anyway, he goes on to say, I have followed the below process for my website and blog indexing. The total, there is 30 pages in my website, with 14 pages have unique 500 words content, and 8 pages have 800 words original research-based content. All indexing is good, but after the 9th of June, my website homepage is not indexed. And the one blog I had posted on the 24th of June is still not indexed. When I show fetch and render option, there is some message, Googlebot can't get all resources, temporarily unreachable. He then describes his steps. Fetches Google, crawl pages with updated content. Create a sitemap, submit sitemap to Google Webmaster Tools, submit website URL to search engines, waste of time. What's that?
Do we have a URL? Do we have a URL for this guy?
Ankit Patel, I don't think he's asked a question of us before. I thought we dealt with this last week, but it was just similar.
Well, similar to what we just dealt with anyway. It'd be the same reasons.
Okay.
It almost sounds like there might be a technical issue where a site audit would be important to look at. That's why it's hard to do it without looking at the site. Because it might be just a piece of code that's stomping it out and not giving it.
If the home page is not showing and other pages are, that's usually an indication of a penalty.
Sometimes. It also depends. Does he put a date of when this site was live? Is this a fresh, brand new site, or did he? There's a lot of questions I would have. Would be like, okay, did he buy the domain from somebody else that already had maybe wrecked it, or or we've got how many pages are actually in the index on this one?
Yeah, he said he has 30 pages, he first submitted his sitemap in February, so it's a reasonably long-term site.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's suffering from some sort of algorithmic penalty.
He also talks about 500 words of content on 8 pages with 800 words original research-based content. And I'd be curious on what kind of content that is, too. We've kind of dealt with different types of content writers throughout the years of our industry, or our history being seasoned, but it might be, going back to your point about a penalty, it might be a part of the panda that might be pressing it back a little bit. Maybe some modifications to those pages could help increase that experience. I'd be curious to find out when people are actually traffic's coming to a site in analytics, I'd be curious to where they're going. Again, going to see if they're actually going from that piece of content and engaging somehow into the site further. Or are they just leaving, which would be two different signals. Is it just content that's answering a quick question and they need to leave? Or is it asking a question that says, hey, let me help you with this project?
I guess it'd be great to know a URL. So Ankit, when you hear this, if you would resubmit your question, you don't have to write all that down again, just a brief summary, but include the URL of your site. We'd like to have a closer look at it. But yes, we'll look forward to looking at it. Actually, if you include it for next week, you'll have some of our SEO heroes answering it. People like AJ Cohn from Blind 5-Year-Old, Dwayne Forrester, formerly of Bing, and Olga Andrienko from SEMrush. Let me see, who else? Hopefully Alistair Lattimore will be with us, and I do know that Dan Petrovic will be with us. Who am I missing?
And Jim, when is that? When are they all coming on the show?
Next week.
Oh, fantastic. Good to hear.
This time next week. All right. We'll use a 15-person hangout for that, William, so we'll fit everybody in.
Should be a good one with all those people.
Mm-hmm.
Great talent.
All right. Dwayne Forrester said he wouldn't come if Tim Capper was on.
Well, maybe I won't show up either if Tim shows up.
No, that's not true. It's a joke again.
Just
All
kidding.
right, let's move on to the next. But Ankit Patel, please do this and give us this question again with a URL, because we'd love to find out the reason for you, mate. All right, we've done it again, guys. We've answered all of the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and so we've done it for another week. Now we move on to our weekly SEO News Roundup, in which topics of interest are posted on the SEO News community, and we come here each Thursday to talk about them. This one was posted by David Rozam, and it said, why the new Google Business Photos image search sucks. David said he's still working through this one, to be honest, but he's hoping that Tim may be able to comment on it, as it seems to be related to his recent discoveries about Google's local SEO foibles. Foibles?
Foibles, good word, isn't it? Foibles. Yeah, I've actually looked into this a bit more now, and I don't think it is anything to do with Tim's foibles over local SEO.
I can't use the word foibles because of where I live.
Why? Do they come round and hit you over the top of the head with a big stick?
No, I live in the 21st century.
But you live in Australia. You can't do.
Yeah, but in the 21st century in Australia. Anyway, foibles, I love that word. That's my new word.
Yes, it appears that what happens if you click through from an image on the Google My Business page, you go into general Google image search. So if you are John Smith Plumber and someone clicks through looking for more images of your pipes and foibles, then you get a whole load of general images of John Smith's rather than John Smith's plumbing. John Smith Plumbing. Yes. No picture of John Smith's plumbing at all. But anyway, it just seems to be another bit of broken lunacy by our friends at Google, setting things up that weren't going to work in the first place and giving them to us broken. But then again, it may be something to do with something that that Tim has recently excavated, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, this is because they just, in their almighty wisdom, bolted on regular image search.
Yeah.
They do say that they're working on it. I can only go by the amount of freakouts in the Google My Business forums. Either business owners are not checking the images, or they have tightened up the parameters, because there seems to be a lower amount of people freaking out. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for the minute and say they've slightly tightened up the parameters on the images that appear within business pages. But until I find another person freaking out, I won't be able to see when those were added. But yeah, this is basically bolting on a product without thinking it through. And now they have to run back and try and tighten up the parameters. They say they're working on it. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yep. And Moses Babu just liked our page on Facebook. Dumb SEO Questions is the page there. And feel free to follow Moses Babu and add your like to our Dumb SEO Questions page on Facebook. All right. We move on to the next one, guys.
It's me again.
Recording that as a yes. David Rozan said how brands are jumping on the Pokemon Go. It's a phenomenon.
It's a phenomenon. I have this picture of everyone in the US, Australia, and New Zealand. I think that's the only places where you can do this at the moment. Wandering around.
Tim said he saw it in the UK tonight.
Did he? Ah. Oh well, I'm not going out because I've got this picture of people walking out into the street under buses and walking into lampposts and things because they're glued to their phone.
It's gotten pretty bad. I was actually talking to a group yesterday, and they were talking about a guy that was live streaming his game. So he was playing Pokemon, going and finding and hunting, and he goes, "Oh look, there's a lake over there," and his camera went dark as he splashed in. He was paying attention to where that Pokemon was. At other stories, I think it's great for the game and also for the maps for augmented reality. But I don't think as a social experiment it was very wise because you've got people now riding their bikes or kids riding their bikes around, looking down at their phone, not around their surroundings of what might be around them. You also have people doing this whole thing, which is a Pokemon hunt, where they go in a car and everybody's got their cell phones up, and you can see them looking for Pokemon and going in areas and territories where they're at. It's the distraction element is worse than drinking and driving.
It hadn't been released for 4 hours when crooks figured out that they could entice people down dark alleys with it.
Yes.
And rob them.
And that's a pretty bad situation. There's other ones where they had a report on our news recently.
Can you put a Pokemon somewhere? How do you put a Pokemon somewhere for people to go and look for?
Supposedly you have to actually hatch them. I don't know anything about the game. My kids played this when they were younger.
Yeah, because there was a report today before we were in the green room. A guy said he paid a pizza parlor in New York. Said in the article he paid $10 to get a couple of Pokemon characters inside his restaurant. And his business increased by 75% within a week because everybody was coming in to find these characters.
Yes.
And then obviously sit and eat and look for more.
Well, and that's another situation where I was told one of the a business owner, she has a boutique shop, and so she was wondering why all these people just kept coming in her store with their cell phones on, and they were looking for these things called Pokemon. And she goes, okay, well, maybe they weren't buying anything, so they weren't actually making a transaction. They just come in, get the Pokemon, and leave. Well, she ended up actually, installing the game, and she said, well, I'm going to go ahead and collect all the Pokemon in my store so nobody else will get them. Well, I guess that caused a different reaction in the game that said all the Pokemon are in the store. So, but she was actually going outside into the front street and everything else trying to find and collect these things, running around her store with her phone, and she didn't understand the game, but she was just collecting them. But I like the idea about the pizza place. I mean, if you can get this game to actually do something for the business, it's kind of like, with the local guides. I mean, we're going out and we're engaging with these business owners and taking pictures of them and making sure their map listing is correct. But yeah, Pokemon, it's interesting. I think it's dangerous in the fact that it's kind of like you're looking straight down even more than you already are for checking your emails or your respawns. Yeah. I haven't installed it. Has anybody else installed it? No. Like you said, Tim just said it just came to the UK today. So.
Yeah, but I've got no interest in that.
It'd be interesting to see if it's a little bit more humorous in other areas of the world, more than just US.
I don't know. I couldn't stand the freaking program when my daughter was a child watching it on telly. It was like, and why would I now, as an adult, 10 years later?
Well, the stocks on Nintendo went through the roof. It's amazing how fast.
Run around the streets trying to find a freaking Pokemon. I mean,
well, the positive thing everybody says about it is they're going out and exercising.
Yeah.
If I can just direct us back along the path of David Rosam's post, brands are jumping onto the bandwagon. And everybody's jumping onto the bandwagon. I see there are sites pumping up content to take advantage of people that are searching for Pokemon-related keywords. Yeah. Just one tip, William. When you're talking technical terms to Tim, you've got to. Well, it's better if you can express them in Russian. It's a second language thing.
I will work on that next.
Okay. Any comments on the brands jumping onto Pokemon?
No, I think going back to Tim, I think that's a great. If somebody can actually show and prove that there's some really good benefit to this, and I think restaurants, not the typical restaurant, but like a fast food restaurant could be, you get McDonald's involved, I guess, and basically now you got kids with their phones and they got Pokemon running around the store. But I think the other thing that brands, there's a lot of brands don't want to be associated to this, and there's a post on Facebook I saw yesterday or the day before, but it shows how you can take your brand or your business off the Pokemon game. So a lot of places, they don't want them coming into their building, or it's private property, or but all of a sudden somebody will put a Pokemon in their business, and now they've got all these people going that way. So I think it's a good thing for businesses that they can capitalize.
I hear that they're putting some Pokemon in maths lessons to get the kids to go in now.
See, there you go. Augmented reality. Augmented reality at its best, right?
All right. Well, I think we've covered this one, have we not?
I believe so. Yes.
All right. And are there any other items of general business?
I think there are some more stories.
Yes, it looks like we have another article here. Another great article from one of my heroes, Dan Petrovic, on advanced new tail keyword research. And I see Tim Capper commented on it at the time, I remember. Comments on Dan's article?
I haven't read it yet, but I will now.
So essentially, okay, so, right, it's called New Tail Keyword Research, and what he meant by that was, if you've got a product, what are your customers searching for to find your product? Now, 9 times out of 10, most e-commerce stores, and it could just be normal, other B2B. Essentially, you kind of think around a handful of keywords based on that particular product, and those are what people tend to target and optimize for and things like that. But, and this also goes back to understanding your actual consumer. The point being is what you believe your keywords for that particular product are not necessarily what your customer or consumer are actually searching for. So this article dives into ways of looking for particular search terms or phrases that consumers would potentially use, and obviously optimizing. Now, because it's a new tail, because it doesn't actually appear in Google Keyword Planner or other particular things, hence the word new tail, because it doesn't actually exist yet in that sense. You would essentially be discovering these new things and obviously optimizing for them. In this particular article, they used a Google survey, and it was on a particular type of grass. So it was for a garden center or whatever that may be. It was a particular type of grass. They did a survey, a consumer survey, trying to understand what people would search for to find that particular kind of grass. And then they implemented it. Those then in turn, or they optimized for them. Those then in turn created new, obviously appearing for these new search phrases, and actually started you could see that people were actually searching for these things and increased traffic, etc. So yeah, essentially it's about understanding, really understanding what users are searching for, not what you think users are searching for, how to gain the insight and how to optimize for these, which you potentially never realize.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'll tweet this. Oh, we have even more. Oh yeah, this is the one on hire a Street View Google Trusted Pro photographer or agency. And I suggested to William Rock that next thing these Street View agencies will be offering SEO services, and what a danger that will be.
These have been out for ages, for years. Yeah, and you do get the odd occasion where people think they're hiring a Street View, a Google Trusted Photographer, when they actually haven't. Paid a lot of money for it. Essentially, what this is And they do, you know, because they reckon they're like masters of optimizing your business page also, which is a load of twaddle. Essentially, these guys are photographers. They come in, they take like a 360 sort of, well photographed 360 panoramic view of your premises. As a Google trusted photographer, they have a second doorway access to your business page, and they upload their 360 degree photograph. They're the only people that can actually add it. So they've got like their own little panel where they would log in to your business page and add it. So I think the moral of the story is go onto Google Trusted Photographers. There's an entire worldwide list of every Google Trusted Photographer available. If you want to do a 360 degree shoot of your business, then certainly use those guys. Don't take it for face value that someone says I'm a Google trusted photographer. They may take a brilliant image, they may do a beautiful panoramic set, but if they're not a trusted photographer, they cannot upload it to your business page. You would then need to go and hire another Google trusted photographer just to upload that for you. So use one of them on their site from start to finish. I know, for example, and there's a lot of ways you can do it. I mean, I know, for example, we've done all the resorts. That's one of my clients in Thailand. We didn't actually even use a trusted photographer in Thailand. We actually used a Google trusted photographer from Singapore, where there are a lot more trusted photographers than in Thailand, which then, because of the competition, they actually charged less than the guy registered in Thailand. So shop around. There's plenty out there. Shop around, but the point is you need to make sure that there are actually a registered one, or else the photo shoot can't even be uploaded. And yet they always tend to say, yeah, I can do this for your business page or whatever, but
and then basically, like I've been using Street. I haven't been using Street. My clients have been using Street View. I posted a link in the chat over on the side, but a violin company I work with, I mean, it was perfect for them to be able to go through a tour of the violin shop, and they can look around, they can see the cellos, they can see the basses, and we found really quickly that it really enhanced our Google business listing, but that's all they did, was shot those street views. So they didn't do any aspect of SEO or anything on top of the Google My Business. And like Tim was saying, they have different access than you or I do, where they can just upload the entire map, and then the arrows, the down arrows, because everybody can shoot a photosphere, a 360 picture, but that's close to being the same, but those cameras are just fantastic. They used to be a lot bigger, and so that video that you showed, Jim,
well,
you go ahead. Yeah.
They also appear differently. So the 360 taken by a Google trusted photographer appears first, and of course, if it's in the knowledge panel, it will say "See inside."
Yes.
Your normal 360 that you can take, and you can get little cameras that, there's the Street View app, which you can download. There's also like extensions you can actually add onto your camera, which help you take better 360s. So there's a whole wealth out there. Those that you upload yourself via Street View app appear as they don't actually appear in the info panel as such, but they will appear in the Street View. and they will appear obviously if people click through to images and things like that. But the trusted photographer one is kind of really featured front and center in search results.
And it adds a lot of spunk to the listing itself, especially for like a restaurant. You can walk through the restaurant and kind of look around and see what tables you want to book. And you can also do that same thing with our local zoo. Actually has had a trusted photographer go out and shoot the entire zoo. So you walk through the zoo, and you can go and look at the exhibits and everything else. And I mean, keep in mind that's a lot of mapping, but it can be done. So the smallest project from just
but for a big one there, you can actually apply for the portable Street View thing. You can actually send an email, and Google will, they'll send someone out, give you instructions on how to do it, how long you need it for, whether it be a week, depends on the size of your location. If you're a shopping mall, you can also do that. You can either send in CAD documents, whatever you call them, CAD whatevers. You can send those in, and Google will create an internal 3D walkthrough, or they will send, if it's a really big shopping center, they will allow you to, they will ship you out the Street View backpack. If it's like a one-day thing, they probably just have their own Google rep who will just walk them all. But if it's a much bigger one, then you can actually apply to have it for a day. If you're a freaking great big farm or like Disney World or whatever, then of course you'd need to have it for a couple of weeks, and then you would Street View the whole place. But yeah, you can apply for it, and there's a whole way of getting these things done. You can apply for the portable Street View. You can send in internal CAD plans. There's a lot of ways to do it, and I think it's really worth your while exploring these, because things are so much more interactive now. 80% of searches is location based. It really makes sense to give a user as much visual information, as well as obviously on-page information as possible that you're allowed to give. Give it. If there's a space, give it.
Well, and that might be something I might be interested in doing too, is mapping the zoo again, because it was mapped when that technology first came out. So there's been a lot of changes to the zoo, and if they were letting you borrow that, that's something that I might just apply for and learn. But then also the other thing for the malls, that's also one of my other local guides in our local community for Kansas City is he's actually going through and doing that, where he's mapping out the mall in MapMaker. And so he's learning that aspect of and he says it's very difficult to just map a mall, but curious on how, once he gets finished with one of them, what it would be like if we could walk through with one of those backpacks in that same mall, what the output would be. So anyhow, great stuff. Thanks for that information, Tim. I didn't know I could apply for that.
Yep. I always find our Hangouts enlightening. I always learn something new every week. Edwin Young, how the bloody hell are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
That's good. We missed you.
Yeah, I miss you too, Jim.
Well. We're at that time, Edwin. It's the thank you for watching time.
Yeah, I see that.
All right, those still watching, thank you for that we appreciate your interest, and it makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again, but for now, it's good night.